It's a good day to talk about children's storybooks. I have been working on a series that I want to start examining how children's stories treat geography and other biblical contexts. And as I've started looking through the Bible storybooks and other Bible-themed books that I already own, I've been struck by a few things. First, in most of the books, the people and scenery both look like they could have been part of England or North America. Some of them pay some attention to architecture and clothing and achieve maybe a B-movie set level of accuracy. This is mostly what I expected, though it's not surprising that American and European authors and illustrators depict scenes similar to their own contexts. The second thing that has struck me, though, is the stories that are emphasized versus the ones that are left out. One book, for example, had 8 pages devoted to Moses and the plagues of Egypt, plus several more pages for the first Passover specifically. But only 2 pages to cover most of Joshua and all of Judges and Ruth. One of the baby Bible stories books did something similar. There were only 26 pages in the whole book, of which 4 were devoted to Moses and the plagues of Egypt. Are the plagues really that foundational in the whole story of the Bible that they deserve this much emphasis? The Passover and the Exodus are definitely important, and the plagues are part of that story, but to spend so much time on them while leaving out other things that are important seems a little strange to me. Another thing that stood out to me is while some of the same stories are used over and over again, each book chooses different names for the stories, which can be really telling. Some of them use super vague titles like God Keeps His Promise, which tells you very little about the story they are telling, but a lot about the theology of the authors and the lessons they hope you get from this story. Other times, the title centers certain aspects of the story. For example, the story in Matthew 4, some titles emphasize the miracle of the fish, while others emphasize Jesus calling his disciples. As a subcategory of this, different books divide stories in different ways. One book might tell 3 different stories about David, while another book might have a single story of David that contains elements or aspects of several different stories in his life. Sometimes a title centers certain characters. Is it the story of Zacchaeus, or is it the story of Jesus and Zacchaeus? In contrasting one of the older books with some of the newer ones, I noticed a tendency to avoid using women's names in the title of the older book. For example, the book of Esther in this older book has 2 parts. Chapters 1 through 2 tell the story of Esther, whereas chapters 2 through 9 are titled The Story of Haman and Mordecai, as if Esther had no part to play in the last half of her book. I haven't read the actual stories yet, but my best hope is that the titles like this are misleading. Some titles are worded to apparently be more palatable or relatable to small children, such as Daniel and the Scary Sleepover versus Daniel and the Lion's Den. It's also been interesting to see what order different books choose to use. Most try to work more or less chronologically, but of course chronology is debated. The Life of Christ especially has a number of variations. Some books pull mainly from one of the Gospels, where others will try to unify them into a single story, but how they order that single story can vary significantly. Also, like in many kids' books, pet peeve, the moon is usually wrong. So this is a call to help me out. I'm hoping to put out quite a few videos on the topic of children's books, but I want to hear about your favorite or least favorite Bible story book for children. How do they title the stories? What do you notice about the pictures? What do you like or dislike about it? Also, most of the books I currently have come from American evangelicalism, and I'd be especially interested in any from different cultures or different religious traditions. I'll put some links in the description. I'm working on a spreadsheet comparing what I have, and you could look at that and maybe contribute if you're interested. And I'll put in a Google form that you can fill out a little bit of a survey and tell me about your experience with Bible storybooks, if you have a favorite, what you've observed about them. Any questions you might have, or any that you would like me to take a look at and review in terms of geography and context. That's going to be my goal, so leave me some comments, fill out my form. And if you ever write a children's book, default to the waxing crescent. That's probably the moon that most people are familiar with. That's the one you should picture. Waxing crescent, not the waning one. Look at this moon. You see this moon? This moon would be up at like 4 or 5 a.m., hour or two before sunrise. What kid is going to be up to see that moon? I mean, it's a moon that exists, but like, it's not a moon that most kids in the northern hemisphere would see regularly. So why is that the moon that's always depicted? Inquiring minds want to know. Also, the moon is a solid sphere. You shouldn't be able to see stars through it. Okay, this has been all about the moon for today. Thank you so much. Have a nice day.